people, how's it going? It's your man Fernando G with yet another edition of DJ to DJ. And today we are going to talk with my longtime friend, my mentor in radio. We are talking to the one and only Frank Lozano, formerly from Power 106. What's up, brother? How are you, man?
I mean, for you to say that I was your mentor, I am sorry. I am so sorry I screwed up your life. Wow. You know, it's funny that you say that, though. It really is humbling, and I'll tell you, Fernando, honestly, when I hear that, it really gets me emotionally, because all I ever wanted to do when I was at Power was just to help people out. I never felt like there was any competition, like I was, like somebody was after my job, although people I'm sure were. I just wanted to help as many people as I could. So to hear you say that gives me great joy. So thank you.
Brother, man, I got to tell you, when I first got there, it was funny because thanks to our good friend, Richard Vision, he was the one that got me into the music research department. And I think...
But now tell everybody what the music research department was, because it wasn't a glamorous job.
It wasn't. It wasn't at all. It was funny, actually, because all we did was sit in this little back room.
It was our locker room.
That was your guys' locker room, right?
That's right.
And so we at night, we would come in, and it was like about eight of us, and we would do call-outs. And so we would say that we were from music research. So it's like, hi, this is Fernando from media research, and we're doing a survey. I even still know the dang thing. It's like we're doing a music survey to see what music you'd like to hear on local radio stations.
And we would play little snippets
and we had a little sheet, which would say unfamiliar, burnt out, like it, really like it, or I never heard it. Okay, and so we would jot that down. We would just check mark. Some people would say we'd call, hey, how's it going? Because it was just random numbers. Back then, we had this computerized sheet that would just pull out numbers. So exactly. So it would pull out 818-213-310, and then just a bunch of numbers. And so we were calling. Some were disconnected. Some were businesses. And some people would freak out. And I'll never forget this one time.
Really? What happened? Tell me the story.
I call this guy. And I don't know what his deal was, but I'm all like, hi, this is Fernando from Media Research. And I'm calling, excuse me, how did you get my number? I said, well, sir, we just have a computer that generates. How did you get my number? I'm trying to explain, sir. Nobody has my number. My number is unlisted. I said, I understand that, sir. Let me just explain to you how the process works. No, nobody knows. Who gave you my number? Who sold you my number? Somebody sold you my number. And I'm all, sir, we didn't get it. This is a computer generated number. He's freaking out. I mean, he's like, and I'm like, finally, I said, okay, tell you the truth. We're outside your door. We're coming to get you. Bam! And I hang up on him.
You did not say that. Oh, my gosh. You are funny.
I was 20-something years old, but the guy was freaking out. And finally, I just said, all right, yeah, we're coming to get you, dude. Who knows what happened to that guy? I mean, years after I think about it, I said, man, I hope this guy wasn't, something wrong with him. And I hope I didn't freak him out. But he was freaking out on me, so I got raw on him.
So that's how you and I met, because I had the night shift and in the afternoon shift. I'm sure when you were there, when I was at nights or after,
nights.
Probably night.
Yeah.
And so we had our locker room above where you were seated, and I would have to say, would literally have to climb over you guys and say, excuse me, I got to get my stuff out of my locker. And that's how I met Humpty and all the rest of the crew. I remember everybody's names. If you brought them up, I would probably remember. But
there was AJ, there was Abe, there was Elizabeth de la Cuadra. I mean, I still keep in contact with her, and she follows me on my live streams and stuff. She's a great gal. And it was a really good group. But what I remember most, obviously, I got into radio because my father got, I grew up around it my entire life, and I had always
he was in Spanish radio, right?
Correct. Yeah, he did great. He did great for himself. 11 golden mics for him, in his journalistic, stories that he did. He did really good. And so, music was my passion, and I used to listen to you guys day in, day out, from Jay Thomas in the morning all the way to Tony Toledo in the midnight hour.
I've got a prop here.
Orale, here we go.
I have a lot of props, so this is going to be my first prop.
Let's do it.
There's Jay Thomas right there. Oh, wait.
Yep.
It's backwards. Yep. There's Jay Thomas right there.
That's it, and you're right next to him.
So let me give you the hierarchy. So Big Boy, most people, know Big Boy. Before Big Boy was the Baker Boys. Before Baker Boys was me. Before me was Jay Thomas. And so that's where you get this.
Exactly. Jay Thomas and the Morning Zoo. That was freaking awesome. And then Bill
Yeah.
Alexander and Mucho Morales.
Yeah, so let me see. Bill Alexander's right here. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a Boomer, Eric DeVonnay, Todd Parker, Eric Edwards. He's the voice of Power 106. That would say 72,000 watts of music power. Power 106. There's St. John. There's Monica Brooks.
Yep.
Jackie. Of course, me with my. I don't even know what was I wearing here. This is so embarrassing. I mean, seriously.
It was the times, man. It was those colored shirts that we used to wear, man.
Yeah. So anyway, this is a one of the things I'll treasure for a long time.
That is awesome. That is so cool, man.
So that's prop number one. There's plenty more, brother.
All right. Well, I love it. So we're talking. I got there in 1989. And so you were in the evenings and you slowly started to take off. I mean, just boom. I mean, I was already like in awe of you, of all of you guys, just listening to you guys. And then Faye was the media research director. Right. And she left and I became the media research director. So I started doing the whole numbers things and everything. So I wasn't doing the calls anymore. I was more behind the scenes and inputting information and stuff like that. But I had a little more free time because I could go check up on the crew, and then I could go, kind of goof around for a little bit until they gave me the reports. Right. So I would go into the studio and check you out, and then you started developing the Loose Crew. And
so now I started at Power 106. Well, let me kind of go back. So you asked previous to us recording here. Right. You said we were talking about how I started.
That's right. I jumped ahead of myself. You see, you got me all excited and stuff.
Sorry about that. So I was just a regular kid, just like everybody else going to school. I went to Wilson High School in Hacienda Heights, not the Wilson of Long Beach. But I went to Wilson High School, and I actually wanted to be an architect. And I studied architecture in high school, and my first job right out of, my first significant job out of high school, when I was still 17 years old, was working for a newspaper called The Highlander. It was a local newspaper. And I sat at my drafting table, and I was doing layout and design of newspaper ads. But I was listening to the radio every single day. And back then, I believe we were listening to Rick Dees and K-Rock. No, not K-Rock. KMET. It was an old rock station a long time ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
94.7 KMET, something like that. A Tweedledee. Anyway, I listened every day, and it sounded like so much fun. Not that I wasn't having fun doing artwork, because I loved artwork, and I wanted to be, an architect and draw stuff. But my boss back then, I'll never forget it. His name was Mike Magabellin. And Mike said, Frank, if you want to do something, don't do what I did. I said, what is that? He goes, I'm living a life of regrets. And he explained, he said, well, I turned 40 years old, and I'm living all the things that I didn't do. I wish I had done that, and I wish I had done that. He goes, if you want to be a DJ, be a DJ. He goes, because if it doesn't work out, you're still young enough, you can always come back and do this. And so my very first job that I got was in Victoria, Texas, which is between San Antonio and Houston, basically, in South Texas. I turned 18 on December 2nd, and by January 1st, I had moved out and got my first radio job. Now, I dug into the vaults.
Uh-oh.
This is actually my very first cassette tape. I probably won't focus. There it is.
There it is.
It says January 1st, 1980. I'm sorry, January 19th, 1981. I was at KCWM, Victoria, Texas. Now, KCWM stood for something, those initials. The King of Country Western Music.
Country?
Now, I got to tell you, I grew up in Hacienda Heights, La Puente, Whittier area. You know how many country songs I heard before I moved to Texas? You can count them on no hands. None. Not one song.
Yeah, we didn't enjoy country out here. No.
So I'm 18 years old, my very first radio job. Now, back then, they only paid me $3.10 an hour.
Oh, man.
But I didn't have any experience. That was okay. So I was basically getting my experience at my first job. And I remember one time we weren't playing actual records. We had reel-to-reel tapes. Our music, this is all new technology back then. Drake Chenault was a company that was providing music on reel-to-reel tapes. So it wasn't like I had a physical piece of vinyl where I could see who the song was by.
Right.
It was just a reel-to-reel tape and had a piece of paper. And so literally I would go on the air and I say, that's KCW. Oh, this is KCWM, the king of country western music. And that's Merle Haggard. Because that's who I thought it was. And I would get a call, son, do you know that was Waylon Jennings? I'm like, no clue, sir. I have no clue. Now, here's another interesting thing. So my name, my legal birth name was Frank Rodriguez. And my mom's middle name is actually Lozano, which I eventually adopted. But when I moved to Texas, Frank Rodriguez was too Latino for them, especially for a country radio station. And so like, we kind of don't want, we got a lot of rednecks and they probably want to listen to a Latino. I'm like, so I went by my middle name, Frank Alexander. And then after about a year of doing that, I went to Fresno and KFYE Y94. And I went there and I said, my name's Frank Alexander. Like, well, Fresno, as you know, back then was a big migrant community.
Right.
And like, Frank Alexander's too white. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, do you have any other names? And I said, well, in high school, they used to call me Paco. Paco meaning Frank. Right. And they were like, oh, that's cool. So I went by Paco Rod. And so it was, I'm Paco in the PM because I was a nighttime disc jockey there.
Right.
And so I was in Fresno for 2 years. And then I ended up getting a job in San Antonio. So by this point, I'm like, stop with this whole name things. I just want to be who I am, and I don't want to keep changing. And so my grandfather on my mom's side, his name was Frank Lozano, and his father before that was Frank Lozano, my great-grandpa. And so, back then, if you were to say Rodriguez, everybody would say, why you say it so white? So if I said Rodriguez, they'd be like, what is that? I've never even heard that name. Right. So to honor my grandfather who lived in Texas, and to make it easier to say, because Rodriguez was kind of the Smith of Spanish names. Right. Lozano, I thought, was more unique because in English, Lozano was Lozano. In Spanish, it's Lozano. In Italian, it's Lozano. It sounds the same. So I ended up changing my name officially to Frank Lozano. And from that day forward, I became Frank Lozano until I got to Power 106. And so I started Power 106 just before you started. I started on January 12th, 1989. So when I left San Antonio, this was 1988, it was a heartbreaking thing because I was doing stand-up comedy. I had a television dance show called Jammin'. If you YouTube that on
well, I gotta look that up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You want to talk about bad clothing and bad hair? Jammin'. Jammin'. It was really bad, but it was fun. But I left all those things because my family had some problems with their business and they needed some help. So I left everything because you do that for family. So I left San Antonio and I moved back to Los Angeles and I got a house in Whittier, and I had no radio job, and it was the Hollywood Christmas Parade. And that was 1988. My mom and I went, and we're on Hollywood Boulevard, and the Power 106 float went by. Actually, hang on just a second. Yeah. The dresser, there's the plaque of the Hollywood Parade.
Another prop.
Yeah, I got another great prop. So, and it's underneath the red folder. So we're at the Hollywood Christmas Parade, and the Power 106 float goes by. And because I hadn't been on radio for 6 months, a little tear kind of came out the side of my eye. My mom said, "What's wrong, mijo?" And I said, "Mom, I really miss radio." And I said, "Next year, I'm going to be on that float." And she said, "Okay, mijo." You know how moms are encouraging. Of
course. Yeah.
And that was November of 88. Well, about 4 weeks later, Jeff Wyatt called me. Jeff Wyatt was the program director from Power 106 at the time. And I actually, Fernando, I had forgot that I had dropped off one of these cassette tapes at the front desk. And I said, "Give this to whoever makes the decision. Thank you." Here's, by the way, Hollywood Christmas Parade.
Wow, look at that.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, who would have thought? I don't know if you can see it. There you go. Anyway, so I dropped off the cassette tape at the front desk, and Jeff White called me, and he goes, "Hey, we've got a job opening. You want to talk about it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." I mean, I thought it was one of my friends playing a joke on me.
Right.
And a couple hours later, one of my friends said, well, what if it was not a joke? What if it really was Jeff White? I'm like, you think so? And so I called back and he goes, yeah, what's up? I said, oh, just verifying our appointment. He goes, yeah, we'll see you next week. I'm like, okay. So I auditioned 3 times on Power 106 before I got the job. So let me put this down real fast. So he had me go on from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning. And I did my spiel. I did, whatever I did when I was in San Antonio. And Jeff didn't like it. He was like, no, it's a little too plain, a little too boring. Can you kind of spice it up a little bit? So the next night I went on again between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And apparently it was way too much for him. He was like, okay, seriously, dude, you are way too hype. And he goes, can you kind of back it down someplace in between? And so that third night, I did it, and he loved it. And he said, okay. Now my first gig was not the most glamorous. It was from 2 to 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning, or basically Friday night, 2 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the morning. Wasn't the most glamorous of shifts, but I was on the radio.
There you go.
And that's all that mattered. I was on Power 106 in Los Angeles. It was like, oh, my dream come true. Yeah. And and this is one of the keys, and for anybody who is a DJ and looking, watching this show to find out how they can do it, everybody's journey is going to be completely different, as Fernando will tell you. But I always said yes. If somebody was sick, can you fill in? Yes. Somebody's on vacation, can you fill in? Yes. Always yes, yes, yes. Always yes. So eventually that got me the Saturday night, midnight to 6 a.m. Sunday morning. So I had 4 hours on Saturdays and 4 hours on Sundays. So I had my 10 hours a week. And that's when you started there, Fernando. Yep. I was just doing weekends. And because I kept on saying yes, 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 I started filling in. And eventually, Mucho Morales was there.
Yeah.
Mucho, when he left, because he had his own, deal, I think it was a money deal, in fact. Boomer, who used to do nights, Joe Cervantes, he moved to afternoons, and then there was a nighttime opening. They tried Bill Alexander for a while, and that didn't work out for whatever reason. I think they might have tried Todd Parker. They tried a couple different people, and then they gave me the shot at it, and I got it. And that's how I started doing full times when you were there.
Yeah. I came in late February, I think it was, when I came in, but I started, just in the back room, just come in the evenings. I didn't even want to go through the hallways. It took me, I think, like about a month and a half before I actually started snooping around because I was all nervous and stuff.
Well, and it was a big place too.
It was a big old hallway in the studios. I mean,
and because where you were at was you got in through the back of the building.
Exactly.
So you didn't even have to walk through the lobby, especially at nighttime.
Yeah. And then I remember it was funny because I had always heard the term having a face for radio. And you were one of the lucky ones that.
Oh, come on, man! Seriously.
No, just seriously, because when I got there, I'll never forget. And I'm not gonna say the name, but I'm in music research, and I remember it was my first night, and I'm all excited, and then all of a sudden, somebody comes in, and I hear this voice: "Hey guys, how's it going?" This and that. Excuse me for a second. They open the door and get their stuff and this and that, and just yapping, and I'm just like looking, and I'm like, what the heck? And then I walk out, I'm like, who the hell was that? And they're all like, that was beep. I'm not gonna say the name. Right. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And I'm like, yeah, man. I was like, oh my gosh, it was so funny. And then I started seeing the rest of the cats, and I was like, yeah, I can see why they say the favorite. They had awesome voices, man. But hey, look, I'm one of those cats, man. I mean, I definitely got that face for radio. I remember being on air and people were saying, oh my God, I love your voice. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Fernando, here are the props. There we go.
There you go. You see?
Look at that. Here's another one. There's another one there.
Orale. You see?
Okay, speaking of orale, all right. Check this one out, huh? How about that? Orale Holmes, what's up?
I remember you doing seeing a stand-up bit of yours where you did that character, right?
That's right. That character is actually Mr. Rodriguez's neighborhood.
There you go.
And it was so earlier I told you I was doing stand-up comedy.
Yes.
I was doing stand-up comedy in San Antonio, and that was right about the time that Eddie Murphy was doing his Mr.
Robinson's Neighborhood.
Mr. Robinson. And so I thought, hey, Latinos, I need to represent. So I did Mr. Rodriguez's neighborhood, taking on my original family name. And so the jingle that I came up with, I'm playing my accordion, and it went something like this. It's a beautiful day for all the hoods, a beautiful day for stolen goods. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this ghetto slum, a neighborly day for all the bums. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I look in the windows at night so I can see you nude. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Look for a job, maybe get laid. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? So there you have it. That's Mr. Rodriguez's neighborhood.
Look at you, got me choking over here, dude. That is classic, man.
So when I did that in San Antonio, I actually entered a contest for a local comedy club, and they were looking for the funniest DJ in San Antonio, and I won the competition.
That is good. That is awesome.
That's where that character came from.
What I remembered about you the most, I mean, like, for example, Boomer to me was another mentor of mine. Yeah. Boomer taught me timing. Because that was one of the things that I didn't get it. I would listen to you guys, and you guys would hit the post just bam, and I was like.
Now, for those who, and this is DJ to DJ, so most people probably know what the post is, but explain what the post is for those who don't know.
Well, the post is, for example, the intro of a song. So you're talking over a song, and you're doing your spiel, but you have to stop talking before the lyrics start. So
you talk over the instrumental part,
exactly,
but not the singing.
Exactly. So and you guys would just boom, 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 but it was just like you were just rambling off, boom, and then you guys would nail it. And so I remember coming in early one day, and I telling Boomer Joe Cervantes, saying, man, I really love your voice, I love your style, I love the way your timing is just. Come on in, man. Sit in and watch what I do for a little bit. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I'm just sitting there. And he starts telling me all this stuff. He goes, it's really not rocket science. He goes, believe it or not. It's not like we're just doing. He goes, yeah, we have to have the ability to speak and know what we're talking about. He goes, but here's the trick behind it. And he starts showing me the carts and how each cart had little numbers on it.
That's right.
It was the actual seconds of how much you had, how much time you had. And
it was in parentheses so that you would know.
Exactly. And then there's a clock. So every time you would hit the button on the mix board, boom, it would launch the next song, and the timer.
What he's playing is kind of like an 8-track tape, but it was just 2 tracks.
Exactly. And then the cart would launch the timer again. Right. So the timer would restart from 0, and then you knew, boom, right there you had to start talking, and you had to finish before the 30 seconds or 1 minute, whatever it was going to be.
Actually, it's usually between 17, maybe 22 seconds. It wasn't very much time.
It wasn't. But it seemed like you guys said so much within that little period of time. And what I admired most about you is that everybody else was just like boom, 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 boom. But with you was your spontaneity. You just took it to another level. I mean, morning shows are different from evening shows, obviously. And I think you can attest to that. And if you can describe the difference between a morning show and an evening show, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, sure. Well, a morning show, obviously, the typical audience, somebody's getting ready and getting dressed going to school. Somebody's getting dressed to go to work. And so you want information. You want to know what the weather's going to be like. You want to know what happened in the news maybe, last night, or something that's going to affect your world. But more specifically, you want to be entertained. And that's what the morning show really was. It's a completely different type of format. In fact, when I was doing the nights at Power 106, the weekends, I was one of Jay Thomas's contributing phone callers. So Jay Thomas was a comedian first and foremost, and happened to be on the radio. He would pay people to write jokes, and he paid me $25 per joke. And I would just think of something really wacky to call, and I would call in as some sort of random guy, say some sort of random thing, and he'd pay me $25 for it. And so the morning show is more entertaining, where in the afternoon on your drive home or you're coming home from school, you just kind of want to chill and you want to listen to more music. It was more music centric. And then, of course, as it got later on in the evening, that's when we would have the mixes and stuff. And I can't wait to tell the story about how live mixing started happening on Power 106.
Yeah.
But that's the difference between the morning show and the afternoon or evening show. Mornings is more entertainment based.
Yeah. What I started learning from you was that, like, the evenings was, we were catering obviously to a lot of young female listeners. And I
Well, Fernando, the target demo was a 17 to 23-year-old Latino.
Mm-hmm.
That was the target. Now, we were
Right.
obviously going to get the ladies, and we were
Right.
going to get the older and younger people, but we did have a target of 17 to 24-year-old Latinos.
Right. But it was like the way you started adding things and the humor that you had, which was, obviously there was a lot of young girls that were tuning in and young guys that were tuning in, at that hour, because, that's the time that they're in their room and they're listening to the radio, or they're doing their homework or whatever. Right. And you knew how to just put that spin to it, bro. And then when you started bringing us in, I mean, it added a different type of energy in the evenings. Like, you could switch from station to station and everybody else was doing the same thing that the other DJs were doing, but you took it to a different level.
Thank you.
How did you come up with Lozano on the Loose?
It was by necessity, because back then, anybody that listened to Kiss FM, and again, remember, this is, early 90s, Kiss FM had Sean Hollywood Hamilton back in the day. Then on Power, there was Mucho Morales. There was Joe the Boomer Cervantes. And I was just Frank Lozano. And so Jeff White, the program director, said, we need to come up with a name for you. And I said, a name? Like, what's wrong with Frank Lozano? Remember, I said I didn't want to change my name anymore.
Right.
And he said, well, he gave me the examples of other people that were on radio at the time. And he said, I have an idea. And I said, yeah, I'd love to hear it. And he goes, how about Fab Five Frankie? And I said, how about I call you back in 15 minutes with the real name? I was not, because back then there was Fab Five Freddy, and I didn't want to be I didn't want to bite. Come on.
I got to tell you a story about names, and when you're done with this one.
So I called a couple of my buddies and people who were, hanging out literally with me on the air. They were interns basically who I brought in as part of what ended up becoming the Loose Crew.
Right.
But I said, well, how do you best describe my show? And back then, I really loved doing live broadcasts from away from the radio station. Yeah. And so they said, well, you just kind of get wild and crazy. You get, just like wild and loose. And I'm like, that's it. Lozano on the Loose. And that's how I called Jeff Wyatt and I said, okay, I got the name Lozano on the Loose. And he absolutely loved it. Here comes my next prop.
Uh-oh. Prop number, what is this, 4?
I don't know. There's going to be more. So my mom, who I would say is a pack rat, she kept everything for me and some of the things I kept for myself. But I used to collect hats. So this is one from The Far Side. Remember that group, The Far Side?
Yeah.
All right. So I've got this beanie from Delicious Vinyl.
Yeah.
All right. So we got that hat. My Arsenio Hall hat.
Nice.
From back in the day. But here is the Lozano on the Loose hat.
Oh, I remember that one, dude.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Lozano on the Loose.
Yeah.
And then here's some more just random Power 106 hats.
Nice.
And here we go. This one I like. Oh, wait. How did this get in there? I don't know how that got in there.
What? Hey, we intermingled with all kinds of radio stations back in the day. We still do.
Well, and it's true, because I had a lot of people would call me and they would say, yeah, I don't listen to Power 106. I listen to K-Rock, or I listen to The Beat. I'm like, I don't always drink Dr. Pepper. What? And I said, I don't always drink Dr. Pepper. Do you think that I only watch Channel 7 for the news? No, I watch everything. Just like radio, I listen to everything. I come to Power 106 for hip-hop and R&B or house or whatever we were playing at the time. So I don't care if you listen to something else.
Yeah, didn't matter.
Anyway. So that's how Lozano on the Loose came to be. And then having you and Fernando and Drina and I mean all these, I can't remember all the Oliver. There were so many people, and so I had to give you a name, and you were the Loose Crew. But I will say one thing, and it sounds like you experienced this. I wanted to give you guys a voice. And I was like, I'm going to put them on the air. Now, there were times that it wasn't live, times that we went, to tape until you got comfortable with it. But that was one of my favorite things, was bringing y'all up and giving you a chance to develop your personalities.
That was the first time, my first opportunity to get on air. My very first call I did when I was on Street Team, but you were the one that put me on air, and it wasn't a lot, but it was so much fun. And obviously, you remember me from my first name, Hector.
Hector, right?
Right. So when I got there, pretty much my entire young adult life, it was Hector. Hector G was my DJ name. Well, actually, it was Hector Night Reaction, because back then we had Divine
I never
Madness.
heard that. Really?
Yeah, that was in high school. It was Hector Night
Come
Reaction.
on, that's as bad as Fab Five Frankie.
Right. No, but there's one worse. So after Power
Wait, you
106,
got to tell us.
What was that?
What is it?
Well,
What's the other one that's worse?
Oh, I got to tell you, after all of this stuff, I end up going and doing a public access radio show with my brother. And the DJ that he had hired, we start doing rock en español. I was just spinning the music. I wasn't on air because my Spanish was lousy. He hires this guy, but this guy didn't have the energy that he wanted. So he had to get rid of him. And he says, you know what? I need you to do it. I need you to go on air. So there I am, pocho as hell, English, Spanish, trying to do it. And I was doing okay. But at the time, I was officially working for La Que Buena. Okay. And on weekends, I would go on and do all the promotional call-ins and stuff. So I would be like, Hector G, aquí estamos en vivo desde el corral or whatever, And so the owner finds out that I'm doing this public access radio. And he says, you can't do that. That's confidential. And I start explaining, well, they don't, it's not, ratings or anything like that. It's Spanish rock and this and that. He says, oh, okay. He goes, all right, I'll let you do it. But you can't use your name because you use your name over here. Change your name over there. And I'm all like, come on. And he's all like, if you want your job here, you got to change your name over there. And I'm like, damn, well, that was my primary job. So I tell my brother, I said, dude, I go, this is what the owner said, and this and that. And he goes, well, let's think of a name. So I had to change literally from 1 week to the next.
Right, I know that. I had 15 minutes.
Right? So I'm sitting there going like, damn, what am I going to call myself? So I think it's like Thursday. We were on Saturday nights from I think it was 8 to midnight. And he calls me up. And he goes, I got it. This is perfect for you. I said, well, what is it? And he's all like, Rocky. I'm all, Rocky?
Okay.
Yeah. And your last name is going to be Pop. I was like,
Rocky
what?
Pop?
Because of the program was a rock and pop in Espanol. So he wanted me to call myself Rocky Pop. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen, bro. so what ends up happening is somehow I go to the store, I'm writing a check or something, and I'm looking at my ID, and I was putting my ID back in, and the only person that ever called me by my middle name was my grandmother. She'd call me Hector Fernando. And so I'm looking at my name, and I said, Fernando G instead of Hector G. And I'm like, that's cool. And then I figured Spanish rock, and I do the bilingual thing. I'll roll the R, Fernando G. Boom. And that's how Fernando G was born, and it's stuck with me ever since. So, but a lot of the stuff that I learned from
grandparents had something to do with your name too, just like
yeah. And you want to hear something really amazing?
What if I said no?
Then I'll shut up and let you talk. So, and I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling here, but one of the things that my mother passed away when I was born, my birth mother, and so I never got to meet her or anything like that. Years later, it was funny because somehow the name I ended up using Fernando G Gonzalez. Okay, so it was Fernando G Gonzalez, and then years later, after using that name like that, I went to my mom's gravesite in Honduras. And I go there, and I had been there when I was a little kid. And I just vaguely remember it. And when I get there, Frank, I look, and her plaque says, Heroína G. Gonzalez.
Oh, really?
My heart sank. I was like, whoa.
So her middle name had a G in it, obviously, then, huh?
Yeah, it was because of her maiden name, Gale. Gale. So, Heroína G. Gonzalez. And that was my thing, that when I said I'll use the G as the Gale, because that's, my mom's maiden name, right. And I used the Gonzalez for my dad.
That's weird that we have that same kind of story then.
Right? How crazy
is that? Because it was my mom's maiden name. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and it's funny. And there's another thing that we have in common. When I was a kid, I also wanted to be an architect.
Really? No, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yep.
That's
I just
cool.
sucked at math, so I never did. So let's get back to you. Enough about
Yes.
my
Okay.
nonsense. So
So we left off where Lozano on the loose, and
Yep.
so I'm coming up, and this is around 90, 91 or so.
Yeah, and what I remember most was when I'm working in promotions, and you start taking over the dancing Saturday nights at the Palace.
Oh boy, that was fun.
Oh, dude, that was
So
bomb.
for those who don't know, Dancing Saturday Night was, again, as mentioned earlier, Power 106 was one of those, on the stations that was in the community, and we did live broadcasts from different places. And one of the staples that we had was every Saturday night from the Palace in Hollywood, which was, off of Hollywood Boulevard there, by Capitol
and Vine.
Records. Thank you. We would broadcast live, and we would mix from the DJ booth there at the Palace. And so we were broadcasting live to everybody that was there, and we got an opportunity to meet everybody face to face that listened to us all week long. And for me, I got an opportunity to be right there with everybody. And I'll share with you one of the things that I hope helped me in my career, not with radio, but with the audience, because I didn't really care so much about the radio as much as I cared about the audience. I remember the first time I got there. I said, Mr. Lozano, welcome, and we have a section saved for you, and Becky's going to be your waitress, and you have the whole section, and we have a bar tab for you, and you can have anything you want to drink. It's on us, and we have your microphone up in the DJ booth, because back then the Palace had the DJ booth on the second level.
The second floor, yeah.
And I said, oh, with all due respect, I don't roll with a posse, so you can open up the section, let Becky make some money, because I don't need a whole section for myself, And just if you could have a table for two, and I appreciate you offering the alcohol. I said, but I just drink cranberry juice or orange juice, or if you want to get crazy, you can mix the two. And I said, I brought a wireless microphone. I would rather be on the dance floor with everybody else. I don't want to be up in the DJ booth separated from everybody, because Fernando, just between you and me and anybody that's watching this, I am not more special than you. I am not more special than anybody else. And I never felt like I was. I felt I was blessed, but I didn't consider myself, like some sort of elite. Well, no disrespect on elite, but I was no more special. And so I didn't want to be a part, apart from, I wanted to be a part of. Right. And so I just did my broadcast right there, right in the middle of the dance floor. In fact, you were part of some of that too.
Yeah. And I'll never forget that night we get there, and you're like, come with me. And I'm like, sure, okay. And we run downstairs, because prior to that, with the other DJs, we were up there in the booth. And so we would literally roll up the T-shirts and just toss them out and stuff like that from the DJ booth, and everybody going crazy. Ah! And you said, I remember you telling me, say, grab 4 T-shirts and tie them in a knot. And I'm like, okay. So I'm tying these shirts in the knot. Come with me. And we roll downstairs. Boom, boom, boom. Grab that chair, you tell me, and I slide the chair over, and you bring it up right in the middle of the dance floor. And you stand up on the chair, and all these people are going nuts around you, and you're holding these T-shirts, and I'm holding you by your legs. So that you're standing there, and you're a thin guy, so it wasn't too bad. And I'm obviously a big guy, so I'm just holding you, making sure that you're not falling over. And people are pushing on me and stuff, and somehow you're standing there straight with your microphone, and you're like, we're here live. And boom, that thing just blew up like it was insane. I mean, because it was cool to see the people throw their hands up in the air from up in the top, but being there on the floor and getting that reaction that you did that night, I just blew me away. I said, this guy is a showman, man. He knows what he's doing.
So because I'm so particular about stuff, not everything, but stuff, I'm going to show you my next prop. All right, so here's a Power 106 T-shirt, LA's Party Station. Now, we would get these T-shirts and we would throw them out. But I didn't want to just throw out a ball. So see how the logo is here on the left chest? So let me show you what I would do. This is a real quick tip on how I folded my shirts back then. I would fold it like this. I would hold it like this. Let's see. Hold on. It's been such a long time since I've done this. Yeah. So I would put them in a ball. But I would do it like this so that the logo would show.
Yeah.
Because when I threw them out, I didn't want it just to be a big blob of white. I wanted you to see what you were getting. That's awesome. The old trick on how I folded my shirts. Now, I've got a whole collection, Fernando. I don't know if you want to see this, of shirts. I literally pulled these out about an hour ago. All right, so here is a Power 106 shirt from a class of 2001.
Wow, look at that.
And that's when things started happening. And then there's the class of 2002.
Very cool.
You probably didn't expect all these props now, did you?
No, it's all good, man. I love it.
So back then, we were, at one point, we were blazing hip-hop and R&B.
I remember that, yeah. When it first started
And this was our rate. We were really into the Raiders. And so we had the Raiders colors. We had some that were just generic, like this, Power 106, Los Angeles. When we would have 4th of July events, because again, we were broadcasting from everywhere.
Yeah.
We did a 4th of July version of the Power 106 shirt. Then when we started getting involved with Homeboy, we started going, more Latino look.
There we go.
I guess you could call this Latino look. I don't know. And I actually have some of these shirts that I've never. This one has never ever been worn. The other ones have been worn, but
it looks brand new, dude.
Yeah, well, it's like a double XL, so it doesn't fit me. So that's why I don't wear that. Oh, and I actually wore this one for you today for all your audience. We used to have a softball club. We used to play softball. There you go.
There we go.
Look at that. You probably didn't expect all this, did you? Know?
It's all good, man. I love it, man. I'm enjoying this, man. You're taking me down. Seriously, memory. I still have somewhere downstairs in the garage in a pile of old concert T-shirts. I still have the Power 106 Dance Now T-shirt. You remember that one?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, so speaking of T-shirts, okay, so now here's where I started transitioning from radio and then using some of my other skills to help out Power 106. There was a concert called P3 where we did. It was three things. We did sports. They had like BMX bicycle racers, and then we had the concert, and then we had one more thing. Let me get the shirt because it's right here. This one, P3, music, cars, and sports.
There we go. Nice.
And this was a great event. The date of the event, Saturday, October 5th, 2002, the Glen Helen Blockbuster Pavilion. Now, I designed this shirt for Power 106, so even though I was on the air, I was actually doing what I could to help out in other ways. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but see in green where all the names of the artists were there?
Yeah.
Eric Sermon, Mac Penn, West Side Connection,
Mood,
Nate Dogg.
Nocturnal, Nate Dogg.
Yep. Now, so you see all these names, right? But look at the very bottom corner.
Oh, yeah.
I snuck my name in there. Nobody ever knew. But there it is, cool. Lozano. It was like my signature. It's like, yeah, I made this shirt.
There you go, man. You got it. You got to get the props, man.
Isn't that funny? Nobody ever knew the wiser.
Let's talk about now you helping people, and you definitely help launch the career of probably one of the most followed DJs in the DJ realm, and we're talking about DJs that spin at clubs, and we're talking about Richard Vision. Yep. How did you help that man out? Because he was also with me in the music research department, and
you guys sat side by side.
Yeah, and then he came up with some crazy stuff, shared it with you, and tell us the story.
So back then, Power 106 did mixes, and they had two guys, Boris and Chris, who were their Power 106 mixers, and I think we only did mixes. I think we did mixes in the night at that time, but they came in on reel-to-reel tapes. So Boris and Chris, they lived in separate I think they lived in like in Rowland Heights or something. Right. But they would come in and they would literally bring reel-to-reel tapes of their mixes, and they would just be there each night, a new mix for us to play. And sometimes we'd replay some of the mixes. And I had met you guys, and kind of like Fernando, whenever I go to a restaurant, I always do my best to find out the server's name, because I'm not more special than me. I'm sorry, I'm not more special than them. And so I always want to acknowledge people because that's important to me. Mm-hmm. And so I want to acknowledge y'all. And so I found out who you all were and what you all did. And Richard Humpty was sharing with me how, he was a mixer and he wanted to do this. And I wanted to give him a shot. And so Al Tavera was our music director at the time. Yeah. And I called Al and I said, "Hey Al, we got a problem." He goes, "What's going on, Lozano? What's going on?" He's all freaked out. And I said, "Well, I can't find the Boris and Chris club mix." He goes, "It's there." I said, "No, I can't find it. I have no idea where it's at." And he cursed and he's like, "I can't believe, what are we gonna do?" And I said, well, there's one of these kids here in the back. He's a mixer too, and he's really awesome. He goes, are you sure? And I said, oh yeah, I think we should give it a shot. He goes, well, I'm going to trust this. I'm going to trust you with this. And I said, okay. Fernando, we played that mix, and I think it was maybe a 20, 30-minute mix. I don't remember how long it was.
Yeah.
Within minutes, our phone started lighting up. And it was different than Boris and Chris. Yeah. And it was so fresh and so new. And Humpty was amazing. Always still is. Yeah. But literally our phones blew up. And from that point forward, it was Richard Humpty Vision. And unfortunately, Boris and Chris, I think they eventually faded out. But that's how Humpty came to be. And I remember with our experience of doing the nightclubs, and I was like, you know what? Why don't we just mix in the studio? And I remember we literally had brought in 2 of our trash cans, and Richard brought his coffin and set it up on top. And he wasn't in that other room, because eventually we made the newsroom, the mixer room.
The mix room, yeah.
When Humpty and I were doing it, we were in the same room. He was behind me, because we was just an experiment to see how it would work. And what was great about that, and it's about the timing, not only on my end, but on Humpty's and other mixers to follow. As we're talking, you guys would just go back and forth to your instrumentals, and you would keep that instrumental going until it felt like we were about to wrap up, and we would have that eyeball communication, and then you would kind of get the pacing, I'm Frank Lozano on Power 106, and then you would release the vocal part of the song, and it was so much fun, and it was so organic because it was live. In fact, it brings me tears thinking how much fun that was, man. I mean, awesome. It was amazing. It was so much fun. And then again, like I said, we took that newsroom, and then eventually they put the mixers with DJ Henry, and everybody would go inside those places. Yeah. And I didn't really like that so much, because then we could only communicate with a little speaker. I liked it better when we were at Not Scary Farm doing stuff when we were live. Man, that was just so much fun.
Speaking of Not Scary Farm, I remember that was the first time I ever got up on a stage. You brought me up as part of the Loose Crew. I remember that was like, oh, and I that was the first time I had actually shaved my head too, because that's when I started losing my hair, and my brother says, you should shave it. It's going to grow back thicker. So there I go, shaving my head, and I had a bandana.
You don't have hair underneath that cap? Come on.
Not anymore, man.
Look at this. Look, bro, come on. It's all real.
You bastard. I envy that of you.
And I don't dye it either.
I love it. I love it.
So tell your story about Not Scary Farm.
I remember that you tell us, because we were doing the street team thing, and you tell us all, because we were all pretty much part of the street team. We had to wear our uniforms and stuff like that. And you tell us
the street team was the promotions department for the radio station that would go out in the community and do promotions and hand out things. And you guys were really the hardest workers there.
We were definitely busting butt. But I remember you telling us, you guys got to bring us change of clothes. I don't want you going up there in your uniforms. So come dress nice, boom. And I was like, all right, cool. So we showed up, and we had a change of clothes, and you're all like, it's time, go change. And I remember, boom, we all ran in there, went into the restrooms, we changed, and we come up, and you're up there doing your thing. And yeah, man, you brought us up, and I remember everybody just freaking out. And it was funny because I remember the day that you said, I want you to be on with me. I want you to be part of the Loose Crew, and just come up with a fun name. And I couldn't think of anything. I could not think of anything. And then I remember that I was just like, what am I going to call myself? What am I going to, I'm freaking out. And then when you say, so we want to welcome and tell us your name. And I just start blurting out a bunch of names. Oh, thanks for having me, man. I'm Hector Fernando Alejandro Alonso Gonzalez de Tito.
That's right.
And you were just sitting there looking at me like, what the hell? And then after that, you would just say, hey, Hector Fernando Alejandro, whatever, Tito. I was like, there, yeah, exactly. You would add stuff, you just started ad-libbing. And again, that's what I loved about you, was your ad-libbing, man, because you were so spontaneous, and things would just sizzle and pop, and it was just freaking hilarious. It was such a great time, man.
This morning, when I was looking through Memorabilia, I found this. We were speaking of Not Scary Farm. So this is an old piece of memorabilia. This is from 1992. And
I remember that.
Florentine Gardens. Remember Florentine Gardens?
Yeah.
So this flyer is from Florentine Gardens, and there I am, Frank Lozano for Power 106.
Oh, cool is that?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Remember Florentine Gardens though? They had the all you can eat buffet at
Yeah.
Florentine Gardens, and when you went back there, because a lot of times I didn't eat, I would
Right.
get it was white slices of white bread, tuna salad, and macaroni. It was like oh
It
my
was
gosh, it was
the,
the worst.
the weirdest menus that they used to have there. It was strange, but dude, when everybody's drunk, they didn't care, man. They started
That's
eating
right.
that stuff.
Well, and then of course after that we would all go to Jerry's Deli after the clubs closed, and
I
that
am
was always
so glad. Do you remember the tradition that we used to have?
of course. Okay, so this is how it started. A couple buddies of mine went to Jerry's, and at the end of the meal, we're just sitting around talking. And you know when you're bored, sometimes there's a glass of water sitting there, and you put some ketchup in it, and then he added some pepper into it, and then they added some mustard and got some mayo, and then we got a piece of the sandwich and put it inside there. And then he said, "I'll give you all the money in my pocket if you eat it." And I'm like, well, "How much do you have?" And he said, "I have $1.24." And I'm like, "I'll do it if you do it." And he goes, "Okay, I'll do it if you do it." And so we all did it, and it was disgusting. It was horrific. And that's how that tradition started. So then when I started hanging out with you guys, at the end of our meals, we would all take a piece of everybody's food. And this is long before they had Fear Factor and all that stuff.
Right, right.
But we would just mix up everybody's food. That was pre-COVID days. We
Right.
wouldn't do that now. But we'd take everybody's food, mix it all in one bowl, and everybody would have to take a spoonful. And it was so funny watching the reaction of everybody on their face, and then knowing you're tasting pickle juice with like a cream pie and with French fry. It was just awful.
I
But
forget who it
how
was.
much fun was it?
It was freaking awesome. I used to love that, man. I remember looking forward to that because we get off, at midnight, and we'd be
Yeah.
down there at Jerry's Deli like at 1, 2 in the morning, and just having a great time. And I forget who it was. I think it was Oliver. That one time, it just the whole thing looked nasty, and everybody was just like, "Oh man!" And then Oliver just
Yes. Now
like
back then,
nothing.
so now, Fernando, I don't know if you remember, but I've always been into photography and videography, which is one of my passions. Always been my passion. But I would take a camcorder a lot of the places that I would go. And Drina Mahasi, she's one of the Loose Crew.
Yeah.
She recently started a YouTube page where she started posting some of the videos that she took. But I remember I used to videotape the Palace and Hollywood. In fact, if I go through my archives, I can't tell you how many memories of stuff that I have on video. Oh, so anyway, I videotaped a lot of those Buck 24 clubs. But when we would do our broadcasts, I didn't want to use a cassette tape because the fidelity. Now, I've always been into having good sound.
Right.
I didn't like the fidelity of a cassette tape. And what we would do is we would go and on Friday nights, we would broadcast someplace, not the dance party, but we were just Lozano on the loose. And we would go to like San Pedro and a party underneath a bridge, in somebody's backyard. And I used my camcorder as the way I would record because it was digital tape back then, mini DV. And I wanted the highest quality possible. And then we would play that back from our van and you use what's called a microwave dish, and we would microwave that to the radio station, and that's how they would get the signal at the highest quality possible. And one time I had an opportunity to interview Tupac. And I was like, okay, cool. At the time, Tupac was a thing, but he wasn't like he is now, a legend.
Right.
And so I remember they were on the set of a music video someplace in downtown Los Angeles. And I busted out my camcorder because I'm going to interview Tupac. But because I only needed the audio part of it, the camcorder was just hanging down by my feet, filming my feet. I never, ever got the video of me and Tupac interviewing one another.
Oh my gosh.
And in fact, many of the shows that we had, it isn't like now your podcast and your YouTube page where people can watch it forever as long as those companies are around. The only copy of many of those shows I have probably, I'm not kidding, 3,000 at least cassette tapes of my show. And it was just heard one time and then poof, gone forever.
You gotta transfer those. You gotta digitize those tapes, man.
I know.
Definitely gotta digitize those tapes.
A long list of things I gotta do.
I know. Well, listen, we are just about done here. However, I do want to, promote whatever it is that you're doing, your services, because you are definitely into video and all this fun stuff. So why don't you talk a little bit about what you're doing right now before we head on out of here?
Yeah, so when when I left Power 106 full time around 2001, 2002, something like that, after I mean 17 years or something crazy like that. No, my math is probably wrong. Anyway, um, I had always I designed the Power 106 website when it first blew up. I mean, literally, we had 300 hits a day, and when I left, it was 3.3 million per month. And so I just started creating content because I love taking pictures. I love drawing because of my graphic art days. I love shooting videos, and I used to shoot videos of Big Boy and all the guests that he had, and then I would run back to my desk and I would upload the video so people can see that. So my passion for doing that kind of stuff, and as a radio host, I can't tell you how many nonprofit organizations that we helped serve, from Boys and Girls Club to places in Compton. I'm just all over the place, and my love for helping people, kind of with all those gifts, came together, and I created Lozano Productions, which is basically, it's me getting to do all the things that I love every single day. So I started focusing on nonprofits first, like Tomorrow's Aeronautical Museum in Compton, that literally kids who are 9 to 15, 16 years old, they get taken off the streets because for every 20 hours of community service they do, they get to fly and to take a lesson in a Cessna 172 airplane. And I just thought, this is such a cool program, getting kids off the streets in Compton. And so I started making videos for nonprofit organizations, a place called Project Cuddle that rescues babies from abandonment. I went there and I helped them out and ended up, rescuing babies that would otherwise be literally thrown in the toilet or in the trash. That passion for helping out nonprofits took me to Haiti, orphanages, to Nigeria, to AIDS clinics. And that's how my production company came to be. And so now I've been to Cuba 3 times, Haiti 7 times, Africa twice. I've been to Cambodia. I've been to India. And my passion for this nonprofit stuff, well, I also do corporate work. So I shoot corporate videos, corporate photography, product photography. I design websites. I still do commercials. I have one running currently on MTV and Animal Planet for Animal Behavioral College. So that's what it is, LozanoProductions.com. Right now I have it forwarded to my Vimeo page where you can see the stuff that I do, a lot of nonprofit stuff, like I said. But cool. That's what I do. I get to shoot videos. I get to draw. I get to take pictures. I get to have fun.
That is awesome. Brother, thank you so much for taking us down this little memory lane, this moment. It was freaking awesome to be able to sit here and chat with you and my longtime friend, longtime mentor.
Look at these old posters. Remember these?
Oh, we used to plaster those on the sides of the freeways and stuff. And all the
how much stuff can you fit on one page? My name is on here someplace, but I don't know where.
Classic. I love it.
I kept it. Well, thank you so much, and I'm so glad to see that you're doing well and that you're helping out other people. And again, just because I took a cassette tape to Jeff Wyatt at Power 106, that's how I got mine. But if I can give you any sort of encouragement, whether you want to be a doctor, a DJ, a lawyer, a sports, whatever, physical therapist, I don't care what you want to do. If you wake up in the morning and say, "Oh God, I gotta go to work," do something else. Do something that you would do for free. Do something that you would do on the weekends. Do something that you would do without getting paid, and just do it because you have that passion for it, and eventually you'll become successful at it.
Exactly. Very well said, my brother. Thank you so much. And of course, you that's watching, make sure that you check out the description, because we're going to have Lozano's links down there for everything that he's got going on, his social medias and his video production, everything. So again, if you did like this program, please click the like button. Of course, subscribe and click the bell so that you get notified the next time I have another amazing talent.
And follow me on Instagram.
Of course. We'll have all your links down there, brother.
Awesome.
Thanks. Stay safe, brother. God bless.